going to be
Yeah,
here.
I talked to Sue, both yesterday and she said,
Didn't they ask about feature?
Yeah.
I
They're
don't.
coming tonight.
On some of the.
yeah.
Compared to the rest of the building. Get out of here.
Sweatshirt. I was actually hot in my office, yeah.
You're laying in bed at night, but maybe Christie, Vance Trucking, I don't know if they would. They'd have to train displays, a little more. Like that's so, if they're not gonna be here, then,
They're online here though.
yeah,
Oh, yes, you could, but you could reference which one you're talking about.
maybe I.
Can I ask who they are?
Yes. Amy and Brent. Amy and Brent. Oh, last names.
Names up there, Connie? Can you
Oh,
do
yeah,
that?
and Phil and
Spot.
No, Ash, I can't see that.
What's that?
No.
You can't, okay, it's Brent and then the last name is
Her.
HANIFL.
Okay.
we'll start.
Where are they from?
Almost.
IT Media.
RT Media.
Oh,
Got
okay,
it.
Because the ladies miss.
Here, did that, is that better? Can you read that
This
better?
is room
Yeah.
$30 in the chamber. The fact that we don't know what.
Gotcha. Thank you.
You know, they're asking us to give them more.
What I noticed.
But these are all the, they've given them this, but they might.
We'll get to that when we get to the agenda items.
Okay.
We can talk about that.
Wow.
Mr. Mayor.
I thought I'd give you these, I found them, these are the ads, this one. Everybody. Last one.
Okay. We'll make sure to get that to River Travel Media, because then they can.
To them,
reach out.
okay.
Yeah. 3:00.
Good job.
I'm practicing.
Well, made me jump out of my
25th,
skin.
I got my one shot to hit it right. All right, we'll call the joint city county tourism committee to order. And we do have a quorum, barely. First on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from February 10th, 2025. Just somebody want to make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second it.
Motion with Cheyenne, second by Sue to approve the minutes from for 2025. Any discussion? Not all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Carries. Next on the agenda, we got public comment. Limited to 3 minutes per person with a maximum public comment of 30 minutes. I don't see anybody from the public, yes, the newspaper.
I have something to say, but I have. Okay. So I just wanted to say, everybody probably knows who I am. I'm Laura Jennerman and I work for the newspaper. And so I just wanted to encourage this organization and any businesses and organizations associated with your group to advertise with the Ladysmith News. Also, I am the director of Music in the Park. So I don't know who I'm going to be working with as far as sending emails to let you know what my work schedule is and stuff, but I just wanted to let you know that I'm here, and you can always get a hold of me if you have things about Music in the Park. So that's about it. Thank you.
I just wanted to note, like, there's a difference between the tourism committee and like the chamber. So as far as like scheduling, like the chamber has their, like that would be who to send stuff out to, as far as advertising like events going on in the park.
So like I have my schedule and I want to send it to somebody, so I would send it to the chamber.
Yes.
And then who else?
They're the ones that like send out like the email blast and such as well.
Is there,
So we have a position for,
Yeah, Laura, you could also send it to Rhonda and Lois, and then they can either put it online or I can put it online too.
get an email? Like,
It's just visit Russ County.
All right, anybody else in public comment? Anybody else for public comment? All right, public comment is now closed. On to our next agenda item, discussion possible motion We get the RT Media presentation. Glad you're on the agenda now. Brett and Amy, if you got a presentation for us.
Can you hear us all right?
Can you hear us?
Can you hear us?
Yep, I can hear you.
Perfect, perfect. Well, thank you for having us this afternoon. I
Thank you for coming.
believe Brent's going to screen share here. So
Yeah.
those of you who we haven't chatted with yet, my name is Amy Gabay. I'm co-owner of RT Media. We're primarily a tourism-based marketing agency out of La Crosse, Wisconsin.
And I'm Brett Hannaful, also co-owner with Amy. And thanks for letting us chat with you today and get the visitors guides kicked off. Just give you a little background on the company and who we work with. If you want to check out some new partners, visit New Richmond's one of ours, Monroe County. But we offer full services and everything from beginning to end in terms of brand to implementation of campaigns, email marketing, even event marketing, media buying, photography, video, basically the full gamut for those communities, rural and smaller, that necessarily don't have the full-time staff for it. So I just wanted to share that with you. You can reach out to any one of our partners if you're looking for more information.
So first thing I kind of want to talk about a little bit is in creating the Rusk County sales kit, I went over the 2019 price ranges in trying to determine what the price ranges should be for 2025. Now there was some pretty wide ranges. So I'm assuming maybe there was early birds in there, maybe there was some combinations of other purchases, but I think that the price list that we came up with for 2025 is pretty solid. Brent, do you want to go to the next page? So this is what we are suggesting to you. It's a draft. We can definitely make any changes that you would like to see for sure. Some of the changes that I believe are changes from 2019 is that everybody who would purchase an ad would automatically get a line listing with their ad purchase. That would be included in their ad purchase. Someone can buy a line listing on its own, but if you're buying an ad, that's part of your purchase. That will be a nice kind of way to grow these little directories throughout the visitor guide. And we would like to be able to put the directories in the content that it makes the most sense. So instead of having the directory at the end, if we are talking about shopping, we have a little shopping directory in there. If we're talking about restaurants, we can have a little restaurant directory in there. And then of course, when we have a miscellaneous directory, that may be a little further along, but to be able to put those businesses in the content that they belong in would be excellent. One other change in here is I added an inside back cover ad and pricing for that. I didn't see that one was sold in 2019, but put a price in there that I thought would work well. So my first question, I guess, is, has everyone had a chance to review the ad rate sheet? If there was questions about it, changes that you'd like to see?
I reviewed it, but I'm not familiar enough with marketing that I just assumed that you guys probably knew what you were talking about.
Sure. I also took a look at multiple other areas, other visitor guide ad rate sheets to compare it to make sure that we were well in range. It is lower than, of course, the cities within Wisconsin, but I think you're pretty solid for the space that you're in with these prices.
I do like the idea of adding the line listing though, to make it easier if there's more businesses that could just get in there in the directory. If they didn't want to take out a quarter page or a certain size ad.
And then there's the
I think it's-
opportunity to upgrade the line listing too.
I think it's a good price range too, if we're considering, possibly 2 years or so for this this packet, that's a lot of advertising in for that amount of time.
That's a lot of, magazines that go out that, I mean, by a lot of people.
And that includes like your online component too, if people are just viewing this online on the website.
If I had a business, I'd advertise prices.
So are we, any other questions or comments, or can I move on to the next slide?
I think we're good on that.
Okay. So I put together a draft timeline. This can be adjusted depending on some other questions we have about the visitor guide that we'll talk about in a little bit. But going forward as quickly as possible, my thought was that we could, if we get the sales sheet approved today, we can start on those ad sales March 24th. I like to have 3 months in ad sales. I find that that's the most effective when working with different visitor guides. The ad sales would end June 27th. We would like to have the content and photography by June 2nd. And then we would have the first draft of the guide coming out July 28th. The advertisers would have a little bit of wiggle room after the ad sales end to submit their ads. That'll go through to July 11th. Once you receive the visitor guide on the 28th, we'll have about a week to get edits back to us. We'll make a second draft, another week to get edits back to us, and then a final draft submitted to the committee. So that's our thoughts so far as to a timeline that this might look like. And of course, we'd work directly with the chosen printer as well. So we would get them all of the print ready documents that they would need. You wouldn't have to worry about connecting with them and being the middleman on that.
Is that, week, the 1 week to get edits back, that the short side?
We can definitely expand it if you like. It's just going off of past experience. Oftentimes it's the longest part of this is getting the ad sales in, and then people tend to get excited and eager to move forward. So that's been sort of what we've seen in the past, but I can certainly expand that out to 2 weeks if you feel like that would be useful in any way.
I don't know, I guess if somebody happened to be on vacation or
Oh,
didn't get a
sure,
chance for a couple days to look at it, I guess I'd just be more worried that
And
it might
these
not get
dates too,
reviewed enough.
they can be flexible. Like we can have this down as a guide, but it doesn't have to be set in stone. We can certainly be as flexible as you need. We are we want this to be as successful as possible for you. So we are not going to be stringent when it comes to deadlines if you need more time.
I think because we don't at this point have someone in that position, like who is going to be the editor, and is a week enough time, I'd probably err on the side of providing more time because it's probably going to have to be a group effort.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll get passed around quite a bit.
Yeah, otherwise, I mean, I think the timeline looks pretty well. We just might need a little bit more time on the editing side. But
That
ad
makes
sales, I feel like that makes sense. And Rhonda had a list of the people who we sold ads to before that she would be able to probably get to you. She brought it today.
Well, that would be very
and
helpful.
That would probably give you an easy jump start on a bunch of them, at least the ones that are still in business. Obviously, a lot of businesses have changed, but you might be able to use that for a good start on the ads.
Yeah, with COVID in there, that makes a big chunk of differences from 2019, but it'll be very helpful to be able to reach out to the people who have bought ads in the past. Okay, so the next slide, there's a few questions that we had, a few things we wanted to talk with you about today. The length of the publication's availability. I had heard someone say that potentially this would be a 2-year publication, and my curiosity on that is twofold. Like, we can avoid putting dates in when we have calendars of events and making them very evergreen. Like, an event might be always the second Saturday in July. We can talk about it that way rather than giving a specific date. Or the cover, we don't want to say, 2025, 2026 visitor guide. If we want to leave it just like not putting dates in at all? Or do you know for certain how long you want this to run? Like, you have a goal in mind as how often you want to have new visitor guides coming out. So that was my first question for you as to the length of the availability.
I've seen Cheyenne smiling over there and she's probably thinking the same thing as me, that we probably don't want to put a date on there and just leave it blank, because we were hoping to like had this done a while ago.
And we're talking off of a 2019 guide right now, so, and I think
Sure.
it can be unpredictable for funding. So I'm making it something that whether or not we send it out in December or December of next year, it's still gonna be relevant.
Okay, that
I mean,
sounds
I
good. We
think
can
our
definitely do that.
Plan as the committee is probably every 2 years, but we just know that
Who knows if the funding will be there, so as long as it's something that has a good representation, because right now our current guide is very outdated with a lot of businesses no longer there or name changes. So just having something that can be a little bit more fluid would be, I think, a better use for our area.
Okay. That's really good for us to keep in mind. For the distribution, we may find that some of the people that I reach out to sell the ad space to may have questions on distribution, how many they are that might be out there. Do you have an idea yet as to how many you want to purchase, or do you know kind of how many might have been downloaded in the past on the website? Do you have like a distribution thought?
I think currently we still have boxes and boxes and boxes stored. So we
Okay.
went way too much last time. And I think the talk was to make this publication as something that we would want to more heavily direct people online to that, like with QR codes and things like that. So our goal would be to do that. Part of the issue is that a lot of people aren't taking our guides because they're outdated, or we've been sending the same guides out for years. So it's kind of hard to see really what's an accurate representation. But definitely looking at having it, be directing people to more online and to the most updated information, even if it's a little outdated in the guide.
I think we're talking
That
about printing
sounds
like
good.
5,000 of them. So we're talking about printing 5,000 print ones besides for whatever gets directed online, and it goes to most of the tourist centers across the state, doesn't it, Rhonda?
Yeah, I looked that up today. There's like 80 counties that we send to.
Nice.
And then obviously more go out requests, and then we stock them and hand them out that way. So if you're talking 5,000 a year, is that what you're talking, or all together?
We're thinking all
Yeah,
together.
possibly.
Well,
I think we got quotes from anywhere from 5,000, 10,000, up to be at 7,500 in there somewhere.
We contracted, like those places. I know I have one at the hotel, but the stands that have the different area guides in there. Like I know I have like 10 different counties guides and it's like you see them at Quick Trips and like visitor center. Someone goes around and
Who stocks them for you?
it's a company. I think they changed their name like within the last year, so I don't know what it is. I could look it up, but I don't know if because our guides are in there, but I don't know because we put them in there or if
I think it's Northwoods Communications.
it used to be like Indian Head, I think, but then they switched it.
But if you're talking only 5,000 for 2 years, I question if that's gonna be enough, because even if we just send 25 to each county, that's 4,000 right there.
That was gonna be my question about how many do you send to a county?
Average 25, but counties want more.
Do you remember-
Really?
Do you remember what we got in 2019? Because
I think we got 30,000, which
Oh.
was way over.
I was gonna say, if
what we
it
needed.
was 10,000. Then
No,
we
I'm
definitely.
quite sure it was
Okay.
30,000.
10,000 might five or maybe
So
75.
we know we don't want to go that, that route.
Well, and then my other concern is if it doesn't happen again in 2 years, then are we gonna run out and have nothing? So,
And
It requires us to do it.
right.
that might be a motivating factor, but I mean, we'll still have the content that we could. Obviously, it's cheaper if you know the amount you want right away to,
And you print
the
them.
difference between 5 and 10,000 is probably a lot less than if you buy 5,000 separately. It's probably.
If we see, if we're running low, are we able to get some more reprinted?
We could, because they'll give us all our content. We just gotta send them to the printer.
And maybe, do you guys have like access to different printers that, you know, we could price match between printers too?
Sure, we
I mean,
can
just
send you
because we went to
some.
the,
Ones that you worked with in the past.
because it might be different price between what we're looking at too there.
And we have some printers that we've worked with in the past and or ones that are often at a lot of these different conventions that we go to with tourism that are used frequently throughout the state. So we have a handful that we can send you some contact information for. And also, as you're talking about distribution, the Welcome Centers for Travel Wisconsin are free to distribute in as well. And I think they have 6 locations. And that's another thing to consider when you're distributing. If you have to get some more out there, that's a good one too.
I think we've done that because I remember Andy and Kelly talking about that. No, I don't know how many they sent out there either.
I have a question. Okay, for the $5,400, isn't that your quote? You would basically be doing the layout of everything we give you. Is that correct?
Correct.
You're not getting pictures. That's gonna be up to us,
Yes,
Right.
yes.
right? Yeah, so you're doing the basic layout and like you said, I like the idea of if you have restaurants, then you have on that page, on the other page, you know, a listing of the restaurants in the different areas, communities and so on. I did go through 4 different visitors guides that I thought were similar in size to Rusk County.
Yeah.
And I thought Rusk County's was very good as we have it now. Washburn County was another good one. And it
Sure,
went
I've seen
down
that.
from there.
We can take a look at Washburn and see some examples of how they do things. Of the other ones that you had looked at, was there others besides Washburn that you felt were, that you liked how they
Well,
looked?
No, I had winter area. Oh, and you had asked for things that you know, that we didn't like in their list of the chamber members. And I thought that would be necessary. And Taylor County, I thought was the least of the 4 that I
Okay.
looked at, I guess. I liked Rusk County and Washburn just because of the organization, you know, how they arrange things. I do like the fact that in Rusk County, we have a very good map of
Yes.
the communities along Highway 8. You know, so people can see at a glance where places are. I don't know if other people, you know, notice that or not, but I thought that was,
Like that, because they don't like to get out the big county maps, so they like that.
so they like this
Yeah.
in the guide.
They comment on that.
A lot of people don't have service either. So like I direct people a lot to the map because if they have like T-Mobile, they're not gonna
Okay.
have service here. So like those are things that versus I hand out.
Yeah. I did like the fact too that there was bold headings for the Blue Hills and ATVing and museums, you know, they're bold and show up, you know, and then list
Out. Yeah.
in that area. Sometimes I thought our pictures were a little lacking, that we could But I guess that'll be up to us, right? To have somebody, who are we gonna have?
And we could maybe do a trade-off if there's a photographer that wants to have an ad, but like doesn't want to pay that, we could do a trade-off with like services. I mean, I think we have also a lot of photos too. It's just a matter of
Those that
looking through to find if it's good quality. I like the idea that you talked about with the, like, if it's a shopping, doing that ad there, like, I think we should have a visitor guide that doesn't feel like an advertisement, but feels like welcome to our community. And I think that adds to a little bit more instead of some of those ones that you were flipping through, all I saw was ads. And so making it more of, this is a good representation of our community, not just an advertisement.
And I did like too, I think both Rusk County and Washburn had a section on economic development. Part of a page or a whole page, which I thought was important since we're wanting to do more of that in the promotional line.
The other thing I didn't like about that is it kind of lists like the average wage. I don't know if that should be listed in there.
No, that's one of the things I crossed out
You
too.
crossed it? Okay, you saw that too. Yeah, I was looking at that too, but the average wage, I was
Well, I
like,
guess
that might not
I didn't notice that, but
be a super big one for us. I noticed there wasn't anything about, it really wasn't in ours.
in ours too.
And we got, to county campgrounds, that we really wanna push for more use on. So I think we should.
Yeah, here's campgrounds.
Yeah, but it's
There's
just,
only a few.
and it's just under the listings too. That's
Right,
like the
yeah.
advertisement. There's not, like, I think as part of sections, we should have a camping section. That's
Yeah,
kind of
because I
advertises, like, Rusk County being a great place to camp.
Right,
And that we got county
And
campgrounds
yeah.
and private campground, your summer campgrounds.
and I thought, I don't know, you probably can't see this, can you? But on page 32 and 33 and the listings, it has a great big bold RC in front of each campground or restaurant or business or whatever. And I understand it. It's from our logo, Rusk County with the Four Rivers thing, but that to me looked kind of redundant.
Okay,
I think what he's saying is like showing more photos, because you could go to a place that shows like, yeah, we've got all these county campgrounds, and it might be
Yeah.
like you're camping right on top of each other and it's out in a field, where ours is usually like around, you've got all these great like waterways and, great like pavilions there and like really nice facilities. So showcasing a little bit more of that to draw people in.
I think it would be a great idea to make a entire camping content page rather than, like you were saying, that graph. I think that's very simple. And as we're kind of talking about content, there were several pages in the magazine that were just imageries. I believe that we're probably going to be able to have space to get more content in if you wish. So I think that camping is great as an inclusion. And I know a lot has changed since 2019. So if there's been changes in your community that you really want highlighted, new things that are in that you want discussed, new topics, it doesn't have to be exactly the same as what you had last time. We can incorporate new information as well beyond just updating the content that's in there.
I think a lot of like the tourism conference in the last couple of years has been a heavy hit on like outdoor recreation. And so really we have so many options in Rusk County to get out. It doesn't really cost you anything to use. And so really focusing more on that too, to draw people in to spend money in the community. Like there's those hidden gems that they talk about that they don't want you to talk about. We need to talk about them.
That sounds great.
Is
Okay, and you had mentioned,
geocaching still a thing? No, because I saw that and I was like, I know that was like a really big thing for a while, but I didn't know if people were still doing that.
We still have free stuff they can use, but nobody really comes in to get it.
Because we don't really talk about it either.
You said
Geocaching.
geocaching?
Yeah,
Yeah, I thought of that too. I thought, yeah, you don't hear
I
about,
shouldn't say nobody, you know, it may be 2 or 3 come in the summertime.
I also like the testimonials, like I'd seen Mackenzie Morgan had a testimonial in there. I thought was good. I was thinking that we could do like maybe a social media, like post that if somebody wants to have their testimonial in there, everybody could submit their testimonial maybe, and we could go through them just.
We have until end of August really, or whenever. I mean, we have a couple months of like heavy tourism season. So getting like, maybe we put out there into the community, like getting user generated content from people that are visiting.
Taking
like-
pictures and everything.
Yeah, so I mean, maybe we hit on that heavy in June, so we have content to talk about in July and August. And we could have those testimonials, have those photos.
That does sound good. I like that idea. Testimonials, even if they're just a sentence, a short bit, they can be sprinkled throughout the visitor guide wherever they fit in. So I think I like that idea quite a bit. When you were talking about the map that you have, do you have the map file? Do you have like a GIS person who created that in the first place? Do you have that map file?
Get somebody from.
have no idea.
Forestry might have created this,
Oh.
so I can check with them.
If you get the campgrounds and all the ATV trails, because even like the Uyghur ATV trail and all that stuff could be.
Oh, yeah, because it designates all the different trails.
I think this is a Dane or a Mike map.
I know that there's some trails have been added that aren't on here now.
Pretty good map because it has the boat landings, campgrounds.
I mean, we have like a lot of trails with like sister farms and everything. Like obviously biking sounds like it's just growing, like making sure that we're incorporating that to,
Like gravel roads.
yep. We have plenty of gravel roads, but we also have a lot of nice maintained trails, especially like in the Blue Hills as well.
And they did have a real good section here on the Blue Hills. Two pages.
It had some good content on that. Definitely.
Yeah, I think our last one was
think-
fairly well.
Yeah,
designed.
think
It's
it's
just, it's a
pretty-
little outdated is all.
Little.
So,
you had asked something about, did we want to consider a feature story or something? And I thought of Christie Mountain, but then in here, I don't know if they paid for this whole page or not, but it was kind of for the fall color fan, for the rock climber, and the snow inner tubing. So that was kind of a good thing.
yeah, I think if you have a business that brings a lot of people into the area, that's a real tourism magnet. I think it's great to highlight them. Like it's great to highlight local breweries. It's great to highlight, whatever you feel is bringing in people to the area. So that Christie Mountain feature was excellent. I don't feel like it, highlighting one business in a tourism magazine is going to, there's always somebody who might be like, well, why wasn't my business highlighted? Well, Christie Mountain's a pretty big draw for tourism. So you have to have it in there.
And it's not like a competitive, like there's another ski hill
Yeah,
in the area, and that by highlighting Christie Mountain, you bring people to go to the restaurants, the
it's
hotels,
unique to our area.
everything else, so it kind of.
Yeah, I
helps.
did notice in some of the other guides, there were full pages of small print, with some kind of a feature story, and I thought it was way too long, way too much.
I would like to see like if we even like did a QR code to do like a video, because just in my area of work, I found that a lot of people are reading less. And like, so videos are like short videos. So if we can access that, be like, want to hear more about this, and then do like a short little feature video, like on our site or something like that, to also draw people there too. The thing that keeps on coming to mind is at the conference, someone said, like, especially when you're talking about economic development or just people moving here, it starts with a visit. And so we just need to show like a way of life throughout the guide too. Like, I just had someone from staying at the hotel last week that is from Montana and they're in the process of moving here because they like the fishing. And so, you know, like, it started with a visit. They got hooked on the fishing here.
Came into the visitor center also and I gave them as much as I could and realtor information. So, yeah.
I think, yeah, isn't it that kind of come to visit, decide to stay or something like that? I think we're using that in some other ads.
I think the city,
I think the city is.
yeah, come to visit, plan to stay, I think.
Plan to stay or
Stay.
something like that. And then, of course,
Incorporate that.
and then, of course, unique to us is, and what we spent so much time branding some years ago, is the 4 rivers. And there's a page on that
I like
that
that.
highlights each of the rivers. I mean, I'm not a fisher person or a boater or anything, but I think that's unique to Russ County. So I kind of like, and it was just short little clips about, you know, each particular river or what it offers.
I would agree with you on the rivers being highlighted.
Yeah.
And that can be part of the design process too, in incorporating the, you know, some design that is reminiscent of the rivers and kind of reminiscent of of your logo, how it has the kind of the water symbol on there. That can be part of the guide as well, kind of keeping that sort of a water theme throughout. So does anyone else have any other visitor guides, likes or dislikes they wanted to share with us? Okay. Brent, do you think you could move to the next screen for me? Okay, so these are some samples that I kind of wanted to share with you. And that top left one, connecting graphics through pages, they kind of have that little dotted line, sort of like a road traveling. We could have something like that that's reminiscent of river that sort of may connect pages across, some sort of graphics that have motion from page to page. Bottom left, that is a good example of relevant ads within content pages. They're talking about supper clubs and they have ads for dining, drinking, all within that area. So I think it's perfectly fine to incorporate them and not have them at the end. On the right-hand side, you'll see a few uses of imagery that I thought was just makes it looks expansive and beautiful, having images that can go across 2 pages, full bleed, high quality, and then having the text over the top, or even just like a 3/4, which is the one on the bottom right has. I think that might be a nice addition to the visitor guide than kind of what we see in the current 2019 one. And I kind of want to get your ideas on those as to what you felt about those visually.
I like the spread images,
Which one?
the top right.
Top
2-page
right,
spread,
yeah,
spread
the-
images.
Yeah. I like either one of the color photos other than the ones on the left.
Okay.
Diane, what do you?
I like incorporating like the ads too, though, with stories, because I don't want to just see a full page of just ads. I like to see them integrated in, and then if I'm looking at, and we're talking about food, I want to see other places that have like food advertised. So I think as far as if I was like paying to be an advertiser, I'd want to be incorporated, not just an afterthought.
It probably does draw you to the business more
Right.
that way.
Very good. Okay. Was there anything else you guys wanted to talk with me about regarding the visitor guide, anything that I haven't touched on that you wanted to make sure that I was aware of? Well, I've got a good amount of notes to get started with, and I guess we just need to know that
QR
the,
codes are already right.
Oh, yeah.
QR codes Shane mentioned, but you could possibly even have QR codes in each section though that might upload
Oh,
to
sure.
like camping could go to like a,
Like a book now and
yeah, or upload to our county's campgrounds or something.
they can direct traffic back to your website, which is something we would
Yeah.
always suggest as much as possible, just to grow. Because once people get to the website, they might want to look around at other things. So if you have the content on the website you want to direct people to, even for videos, I mean, directing to YouTube is great, but if you can have that embedded in your site and direct them into there, that's even better.
Mr. Mayor, you got any thoughts? Other than what's already said?
Covered a lot of good things. One of the things too to consider is, I think Cheyenne brought it up from Governor's Tourism Conference 2 years ago about being accessible to people with disabilities. So, we got the sidewalks out to the Historical Society now, making that accessible, sidewalks in the park, the playground.
At
Yeah,
the
that
visitor
is-
center also.
That's a
and I'd
great
like to
idea.
see that integrated throughout, like if they are accessible, putting that in content, not necessarily maybe having a full page of just like what's accessible. I would want to see it like
Like under the boat.
inclusive.
The new
Mhm.
one at Memorial now is accessible, right?
Yeah. So instead of like having just a page on accessibility, have it be intentionally throughout, if we're talking about like campgrounds or parks and everything, what if it is that accessible and having integrated there instead of just one page.
Right. I think, yeah, that's a good idea.
'Cause I don't want that necessarily that separation. I want to be like, if you're doing this or this or this, there's something for you to do and they
Everybody.
access it.
I like the idea of keeping it inclusive and not having its own separate page. It makes sense to do it that direction, for sure.
It seems to be like there's been a lot added in like the last 2 years.
Much.
Yeah. We have a lot
It's
of like nice
important.
rolling, like where you can roll your like a wheelchair or something out onto docks to make them accessible, or a lot of fishing from shore options.
Our population is aging. People travel with family, travel with grandparents. Being able to know that they can still enjoy Rusk County when they come is something that's incredibly important. And I think that's one of the reasons why Travel Wisconsin is consistently talking about it over and over, is it's going to be needed more and more as we keep aging as a population. Oh, and when you're talking about content too, pet friendly is another thing too that you might want to incorporate in. And I'll have some notes for Ashley as ideas for potential content that we think might be helpful. And people like to travel with their dogs, so having a space on pet friendly hotels, pet friendly outdoor spaces for like restaurants that may have a patio where you can bring your dog along, those are really popular too.
You're starting to see them in airports a lot more.
Yeah, they
Really?
do.
Yeah, because they're,
Yeah.
what do you call it now?
You-
Support.
Oh, they're support animals, you mean? Yeah.
You're seeing those pet comfort zones at airports more and more. So I guess my biggest question at the moment is if the ad rate sheet is approved, if we can start moving forward, or if you're gonna need a little more time with that, that's fine too.
Make a motion to approve the ad sheet as.
Sales materials.
amended.
Okay,
I'll second the motion.
we got a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
Much is that exactly? Is 5,400?
The 5,400.
That's for 5,000?
This is for,
She's talking about the 8th page ad at 300. We've already approved the contract with the ad rates. 1,900 for the back cover, 3/4 page, inside front cover ad 1,750, back cover ad 1,500, all the rates up there. That was acceptable rates. Or if somebody had a suggestion otherwise. If not, we got a motion and a second. Any more discussion on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carries.
Well, thank you guys very much. Anything else you need to chat with us about?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time today. We'll be getting started and it's going to be a great project.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Great. See you later. Thank you. Next on to the printing options. The agenda here too. I was gonna go with 5,000. But maybe we should see if they got some other vendors they suggest, and 5,000's on the low side. Maybe we should go a little more.
I just wonder how much we distribute out, like based off of our, the counties that we serve in the travel centers. Cause I know like we got 2 boxes dropped off at the hotel. So whether or not they're in other places too, I know that like Airbnb, people have asked for them as well. Maybe there's a significant difference in printer to printer. So maybe it makes more sense to like order the 7,500 if it's from a different printer. I'd be curious to see what the other options are out there.
What did you say? There's 80 counties
You
you said
said
to?
80.
And at 25, you said average.
That's too.
Well, there's
That's 2,000.
72 counties
To be
in
tribal.
Wisconsin,
Yeah, but she's
Right.
probably sent some
but you
outside of
probably
state.
send them to Illinois and,
We also, it's not just the counties. A lot of the cities, like Winter is not a county.
oh, and you send to
Right.
their,
So
oh,
they might call and ask us for some.
okay.
25 times 80 is 2,000. If you got another 1,000 that you give out to the cities, that's still 2,000. I guess I don't know for sure how much.
Should put the printing out for bid.
Well, it doesn't need to go up for bid with the dollar amount, but
I think you're probably can get competitive with quotes too.
well, I brought 3 quotes last fall. And you picked the lacrosse graphics one. But we also need to determine, do you guys still want it to be 36 pages? Like before we start developing all this content, we should determine how long you guys want it to be, how big you want it to be.
I think 36 pages that's what our current one was, right?
Right.
I feel like that was a good amount.
Yeah, I wouldn't think we'd need any more than that.
No.
Is it gonna be all color? Cause I know that one time we talked some black and white.
Yeah, so the direction I got from you guys last time was to price it out for what we have now, which is like that glossy paper. I think it's an 80-pound weight. And then the refine a full ditch trim. Amy just had mentioned that before, like they start designing, because when you build something in InDesign, the template needs to be set with the bleed and things like that. So if we say we want an 8.5 by 11 visitor guide, and then 3 months from now, we're like, shoot, we actually want a 10 by 15, that completely screws up all of the work they've just put into designing it.
Sure.
I think most, like all the other counties,
These are all 8.5 by 11, I would think, aren't they?
they fit in the slots, like for, I wouldn't go any bigger than that.
For mailing, the 8.5 by 11 is, I definitely don't go any bigger because then it causes mailing issues.
Yeah, I don't think we
And
want
I-
to change the size.
When I was there, I looked at, you weren't there, Rhonda, that day, but I looked at some of them that had more of a newspaper inside, you know, the print page. And to me, you're kind of defeating your purpose. I mean, I don't know what's the difference price wise, but if you're gonna do it, you want it to look nice from beginning to end. I mean, that's just my personal opinion, but I
I don't need to look cheap.
yeah, I don't think, yeah, I think that brings a cheap feel
This
to it.
might not be important, but you know, when we have guides left over from other counties, or they send us a new guide, updated guide, and so the old ones need to go somewhere. We have a woman that comes in and she recycles them, but they only take the glossy paper.
They only take what?
The glossy paper like this.
Glossy paper?
Paper you're talking about, they don't take that.
Oh.
So I don't know, maybe you know more about that with the paper mill, but
We'll take whatever kind you got, but, I do like the glossy better. I would say.
I think if we're gonna put money into it, make it nice.
Yeah, I would
you
say
know.
if we stuck with the same material with the
As the
glossy and the
covers.
same size, 8.5 by 11 and 36 pages. I guess the biggest question to me is how many we want to print. You know, 5,000, 7,500, 10,000.
Okay,
We have to make that
can you
decision. but-
get us a breakdown, actually, of
That can be a long ways down the line.
There-
Yeah.
There is a
7,500 and
There is a
10,000?
quote, the 5,000,
Oh, we have-
6154. She gave it to us, was it a couple months ago?
Oh, was that the 5,400?
6154 for 5,000, 6154.84, 7503.33 for 7,500, and for 10,000, those 8,930 and 69 cents.
we do put them, you know, in our display box. We put, people have bed and breakfast. They come in and get a handful to put in there. I'm kind of leaning more toward 10,000, but
The difference between 10,000 and 5,000 is what, 2,800 bucks or so.
And maybe there's a possibility that we'd use it for 3 years instead of 2.
right, that's what I was saying before. We run out,
2
then
years to me
can
seems
we reprint?
really cutting it pretty short. All the work that has to go into it. And how much are you gonna change
I think,
unless it's updating businesses?
The big thing is though, is we didn't have access to the visitor guide to make changes, correct? Like, because that was from another company. So
Right.
we wouldn't have to go through this whole process again because we're already going, I mean, maybe we do put out for more like ads or change it up a little bit, but we're going to have the foundation,
Got the control over the.
right?
they're gonna give us all the content.
Yeah, okay.
So it's gonna be a lot less work 2 or 3 years from now if we would need to make a few changes than to start over from scratch like what we're doing now.
Right.
Especially if we can get someone like Kiergan back in who just had that design knack. Would be something that we could do in-house even and not have to rely on an outside design service.
Yeah, I honestly think once we have an idea of what we're already doing with all the content, that we wouldn't even need to hire anybody. It's just such a big undertaking right now because we're so far behind and we don't have, I don't know, was it Filch and Barnett they do before?
Yep.
They don't, they might have done a good job of what they did, but they were not very good at keeping us with the right keys to get on stuff. The websites were all messed up and
I think some of it was just proprietary, It's like, since they did it, then it was theirs, where we're looking at stuff that is ours, someone else is doing it, but we have the rights to it, which makes a big difference.
And do we have someone to take pictures or because we have a whole stock pictures?
We do have a big stack of photos. I guess what we'll have to do is narrow in on what you guys want the content to be and then look and see if we've already got photos, if they look outdated. You know, if we want to feature Murphy and Josie and all of those things, we might need to update our stock.
The thing is,
so the iPhone can go out, you know, if we know that. we're
better
looking for-
quality than an iPhone. We've got cameras. But I mean, also if like, say we're featuring Christie Mountain, they probably have content that they're going to give us because they want to advertise. So I don't think it's going to be as hard as if people are going to want to give us stuff. It's just going to be quality, like versus, and is that what we want to display? And I think the pictures will be a smaller issue and like we'll have plenty to choose from.
Okay.
Some that were even shot on an actual camera.
Okay, so, I mean, I feel like we're all on the same page as far as keeping, you quoted as far as the gloss, the page size, everything else. Do we need to decide the 5 or 10,000 or 7,500 there? Could we like
Right.
maybe
We have a while.
think about it for another month or two?
Mhm.
We should though keep it on the forefront so we don't get to the last day and we're still not.
Yeah.
And we figure out like how many those travel Wisconsin centers would need. And like that would be a number that those are bigger places, so and if we're using like the places that fill the, like the bins, how many they need, so then we can kind of have a better number. Cause if those numbers are, if we're looking for like the next 2 years, so if they're just doing 1 year and then we need to do like half the next year, kind of figuring that number in. You have,
I don't have any idea on, that would be. I don't know what the 6 pieces are that you're talking about.
so she had referenced, like, when you stop at the rest areas, they'll have those, but I'm not sure who I can look and see.
We
I can look and see at the hotel who the
have to,
bins
I
are.
already have a Wisconsin contact. I could maybe get in touch with them and see.
I don't know if it's the visitor center, so I'm not sure if but maybe,
Actually,
is it Amy that was just on could look.
it's gotta leave for another meeting. Could we finish up the minutes if we are still going at that point?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. I need to, so if that's consensus, if you're okay with it, I'll communicate that with Amy and Brent. So as they start setting up our InDesign files, they know what they're building, which is a 36-page, 8.5 by 11.
We need a motion on that at all.
I don't think so.
Just
Yeah, I don't think so.
same. Yeah, it's basically the same as what we've
I think
had.
the only thing we'll need the motion on is what we actually, the amount.
That's-
We'll have to allocate the funds.
The
Yeah.
funds, yeah.
Okay. And I think we're done with the visitor center guide part of that. So then we go on to the addendum for discussion, economic development position. So we don't right now have anybody in the part-time position. So I was thinking about starting a greater discussion about turning that into a full-time position. I know that you can only have a part-time position. You got Ashley helps out a lot to get a lot of stuff done. Al from the city helps out a lot. And if we could, get a full-time person that does just economic development and, tourism, kind of like a split of the two, because they're kind of tied together. I really think that that's a needed position, and they could spend a lot more time applying for the right grants. I mean, there's a lot of free stuff out there that if somebody had time to just sit down and get the free stuff and also advertise to businesses to be in communication with them or tourist events and stuff, I think that I mean, we've had part-time people for these before, but at part-time, it's harder to retain person. I think you'd have a lot more luck getting a full-time person, and I think it's a full-time job. Because we already, like I said, you're not only for what we've had for part-time, you also got Ashley and Al doing a lot of work besides for what they're doing. So I was thinking that we should start that discussion and then see what your guys' thoughts were. And suggest that maybe personnel look into like a job description on it. I got the one that you sent me, but may just want to send it to them blank and see their thoughts and just give them some guidelines too. I guess I'm not really 100% sure what would be the better one there. If they want more input from us on a job description, we could give it as well, but it would be, I really think we should look into that. And maybe before posting for the part-time position again. That's why I added it onto this agenda right away, because if we post for that, that may have an effect on how the vote goes, you know, at the board level or whatever. If we already got a part-time position and you had a full-time position, whereas if you just go with the full-time position.
I think it's an investment worth putting into to put more money into our community to bring those ideas. You know that when I was talking with Alan, the city, they moved away from their Main Street program because they couldn't find someone to fill that part-time position. So like to find someone that is going to be knowledgeable in all those areas and that can make it on a part-time is going to be hard. Where a full-time position really gives us more of a foot in the game and can really show that economic side. Because how much of the social media are you guys doing right now? Like a good chunk of it?
Yeah, Alan does a lot of social media. I do everything on the websites. It's a big time commitment. And like, for instance, this just came out today. So WEDC announced this new initiative that they have where qualifying businesses can get free expert guidance. So I did an article on our website, but like, I don't have time to like blast this out to our local businesses. I don't have time to like take phone calls and meet with people, but this is the kind of stuff that I think a lot of our local businesses would find helpful.
Like, what's that event guide that you had said that there wasn't, that you shared?
We don't have any events on the travel, like the Discover Wisconsin or Travel Wisconsin site for summer at all. There's not one single event. And that is one thing that drives people. So like, it's gonna, so like each individual event could post it, but it takes people to, like, I send that out a lot too. So, but again, there's nothing, like, I know I haven't done it yet for Mardi Gras. The fair isn't on there. So like having someone that can do that to drive like people to our area, we need to put an investment into our community so then we can support all those businesses. Well, you said the one takeaway that you had is how big social media is for tourism. And if we have a bunch of part-time, or we need someone to solely focus on making sure that we're in those conversations, we're not going to get that if we're not intentionally doing something to put Rusk County on the map.
My only thought is that we have a Chamber of Commerce. It's not Ladysmith Chamber of Commerce. It's Russ County Area Chamber of Commerce. And we have some other things I think we're gonna talk about with that, which we don't even know what their budget is. And we're, you know, we're giving them a lot of money from room tax. And then I think, well, isn't that person's job, part of her job? She is supposed to be putting out all the events out there, not just Ladysmith Minor Avenue, Friday night, music on Minor and something in the park for Mardi Gras or whatever. Isn't she supposed to be doing it for the whole county?
Yes,
She
but
works for the chamber, which works for chamber members. Get the,
Yeah, they get the benefit of it.
and they're the one, so us as the county don't.
So I think that's also
Well,
what
I'm
we
just-
discussed last time though, that part, when we did the discussion of giving that money, because the city like gives a certain percentage, they get a certain percentage of what was given to that Main Street program. And so there is that focus of having events here and everything, but at the same time, one person doing all of the county, where most of the chambers that you talk about is like in like Barron County, you have Chautauqua, they have their own chamber. Rice Lake has their own chamber. They're focusing 40 hours a week or whatever on
On their,
Rice Lake, where she's got to focus her time for all of Russ County. And like her job is not to do economic development specifically and look at grants. So having someone that can do that, and then I think that would only heighten the chamber, heighten the visitor center. It's going to add more to it, and we can expand. Right now, we're very limited. Like you can look at all these grants and things like that, but if you don't have the manpower to do that, then it's just money that people don't have time to fully invest in.
I went to the one grant session in there and they're talking about the gym grants and the different grants, and I was like, this was too high level for me as on the committee, and I was thinking for even a part-time person, it just, you wouldn't have the time to research on how to write out the grants
well,
to get the
and
grants.
I'm not opposed to it. I'm just thinking, you know, we have IDC, which of course is more Ladysmith oriented. And don't they do grants and, you know, get money and back the city? And so I just want to make sure that we're not having duplications of 2 or 3 different entities working on the same thing. We want business in Russ County. We want business in Ladysmith or Bruce or Weyerhaeuser or whatever. But yeah, maybe we need to spend 40 or 50,000 for that person or more. I don't know what kind of salary, if you really get someone who's gonna delve into it.
I think that
Probably
you're
gonna
going
be-
to end up having a better economic impact throughout the county when you invest in, you know, that 40 or 50,000 or what number we come up with, for like an economic and tourism specialist. Having that position, you're going to then invest more into that to then bring more economic impact, more tourism, because you have a bunch of people doing part-time stuff right now. Like, you know, Alan and Ashley doing part-time this and that. But if you have someone that's their sole focus, what more can we do? Because they can still get support from those two, but then it's not.
It's their responsibility.
And if I've got 5 or 6 jobs, I can only focus my attention on a little bit. But if I can fully focus on that, what more how can we expand that position? I think it's investing a little bit of money in the scheme of things to really bring more to our community, more business, more tourists, which then supports those
Yeah, and
businesses.
I agree with what you're saying in essence, but you know, at what cost? Is the county gonna be able to handle another big ticket person? This person that we had, just out of curiosity, what's her name? Kelly that left. She was only here for a couple of months.
Very.
Terry, yeah. Was she supposed to be part-time kind of economic development?
Yep.
So what was, I have never heard, what was the issue? Did you feel she didn't do her job? Or did she just not like
She-
what she was supposed to
She
do?
resigned.
She resigned.
Yep. But,
So-
you know.
So it
having a
was
part-
too much, maybe over her head or whatever. We
I-
don't know
it's
exactly.
Probably not the place to discuss that right now.
Okay,
but,
all right, well, that's okay.
It's, as far as attracting a person to work there, I think it's easier to keep a full-time person.
Okay,
Happy.
all right.
We could do a part-time position and have the continuous revolving door, or we can like get serious and have a full-time position and looking at that option to really be like, because I would imagine every time that we have a new position, it's okay, let's learn this and this and this. And so we spend the first couple months just really learning, where then when they, you know, maybe part-time isn't the option for them anymore,
Right.
where a full-time position is something that's a little bit more of a
I
commitment.
realize that it's hard to get good people for part-time because
Yeah, and
so
there,
that makes sense.
to me,
So-
I think there's a need for, I think there's enough stuff to do for a full-time person that I think all our resources, even if we have a part-time person, I think we're tapped out. And stuff that's fallen through the cracks, even with a part-time person, just
Okay.
because there's that much. That could have somebody invest the time into, doing all this other stuff that we just don't have time for.
Okay. Good discussion. I appreciate
No,
it.
it's-
I understand where,
Yeah.
you know, I'm agreeing with you at this point. Okay.
So would it be appropriate to make a motion to forward to personnel for economic development and tourism, a split position to evaluate a job description and like what steps we would need from that?
Yeah.
I'd make that motion.
To recommend the personnel look into a full-time economic development / tourism specialist position.
Because most counties have something like that, correct? So it's not like we're creating a position that is just kind of way out there. It's most counties are doing it. And probably that's why they're,
We seem to not have a lot of growth here, so I think we need to step into the game. Okay, we got a motion to, for the personnel to recommend they start looking into an economic development / tourism specialist position. Do we get a second?
I'll second that. I'm not sure how far it'll go for personnel and finance, so, but we'll try.
Do you actually let me know when it is on the discussion for personnel? Just in case I don't check the agenda, because
Sure. It should be that first week in April, right, Connie?
I will try to attempt to make that meeting myself. Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carries. It's supposed to be on the main personnel. It's just like personnel seems like every other day there's another meeting that comes through, so I don't always keep up. Okay, down to for a resolution for designation of continued appropriation account for the donation to the All Board Boxer Program. Do we want to wait until Lois is here for this one? It seemed like she had the most input.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, everybody's okay with that. We'll put that in the agenda for next month again. Update on Rusk County Comprehensive Plan.
Okay, so we did, I think, well, we did get the grant, funding, and Connie had to help me out this morning to finish off one thing that, the feds needed so we can, finally have those funds released. The zoning and land information committee, as of right now, is kind of heading this up. But once we get deeper into this project, I believe that they will probably recommend some kind of ad hoc committee be formed. So I would encourage you guys, as you sit on the Tourism Economic Development Committee, maybe throw your hat in the ring for that, or at least, you know, hop on and watch the meetings so you can see, economic development gets its whole own chapter in a comprehensive plan, so.
Okay. Resolution to designate funding for the Rusk Area Chamber of Commerce and approve transfer from the mining reuse fund and amend the 2025 tourism budget. This goes back to a few months ago when Ashley was sick. We voted on to use some funding for to help with the Rusk County Area Chamber of Commerce, but we didn't set a funding source or really set how that was done, because I wasn't 100% sure, because Ashley wasn't there, so I just took a vote. But there's some things we gotta do just to make sure it gets done properly. Ashley's not allowed to be sick anymore either.
Do you want me to run through it?
Yes, please.
Okay. So according to our financial procedures manual here in the county, any money that is not budgeted for and exceeds 10% of the allocated amount that by the county board needs a budget amendment. So this, I think it Phil, $18,000, $19,000, $18,000 was approved to give to the Chamber of Commerce to support their operations. So what this committee would need to consider is, do you want to forward this budget amendment and this transfer out of the mining fund to the finance committee for their approval? And then the budget amendment, of course, would need to go to the full county board. So kind of running through the resolution, whereas this committee recognizes the importance of economic development, and whereas this committee values the services provided by the chamber, and whereas the continued success and growth of local businesses contribute to job creation, increased tourism, and overall community prosperity, and whereas the tourism committee views this financial allocation as a strategic investment into long-term economic well-being, and whereas it's in the best interest of the community to ensure that businesses have access to the resources provided by the chamber and support to flourish, whereas the funding for the chamber was not budgeted in 2025, and the tourism committee is referring a transfer from the mining reuse fund to the economic development budget and an associated budget amendment to the finance committee for approval. So if this does pass the finance committee, then this is what would happen to the budget that you guys oversee. We would transfer from the mining fund into the economic development special project line, so that there would be two amendments to the budget. We would have the transfer from mining reuse increase by $18,000, and then that is a revenue, which would then transfer to the economic development special project line, which is an expenditure.
Any questions on that? That's right, that it came from the mining fund. That's the part I was right about.
Well, that was you and me talking. If you guys want to request that it be pulled from contingency or general fund, that's up to you guys as well. And then one other thing of note is that I only wrote this for 1 year, because my assumption would be that if this does,
Cycle next year.
yep, then you would
take care
put
of
that
it.
in the budget.
Cycle. Yeah, so it's not an extra amount compared to what we voted on last time, but it would just be,
So if it gets turned down at like finance, then it no longer can, because I think other places voted based off of all three. So then we would just have to have that discussion then afterwards, because I think everyone is in agreement as long as everyone was in agreement. So if this comes out like where this can't happen, then we might just have that. That's how it was presented, I thought, correct?
yeah, the LADC put in and the city put in.
We might just have some issues there since we've
Entity.
on their end, we've agreed to it, but
Okay.
so if it doesn't pass finance, then does it come back to us, or is it then just dead in the water?
It would be dead at that point, because the finance would have to approve the budget amendment. I do sit on finance, will probably make a pretty strong case for it. Of course, that's, obviously I'm only one of the members on that committee. It wouldn't hurt if other people show up. And it might not hurt to invite the Rusk Area Chamber of Commerce to show up at that meeting to present, kind of like they did at the meeting did for us. But yeah, procedure wise, that is where, if the finance committee would vote no, it would stop. We'd have to attempt next budget cycle to get that in there then.
Okay,
The
We need a
good thing
motion.
about
make a motion.
the good thing about taking out of the mining fund for this, at least for this cycle, is that it doesn't affect the overall budgets of other revenues coming into the county, and the mining fund is restricted to certain things for economic development type stuff. So it doesn't hurt, say, now if the sheriff's department has an emergency. Now, if you took out a contingency, now they might have less money for that, or if the highway department has an emergency come up. So I think that there's probably higher chances of if we take it out of the mining fund than if we're gonna take it something out of contingency. Honestly, if it was out of contingency with this as strapped as we are, I don't know that I would be for it myself, just because of where we are. But I think where this is coming from, I think it's at least got high probability. Of course, that's just me guessing and throwing a dart in the wind. So you want to
Make a motion.
And we got a motion. Second.
Okay.
Any more discussion? Not all those in favor say aye.
I,
Right.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carries. And we probably, for this one, signing.
I think the only, do you mind if I print a new copy?
Yep.
Because I don't believe, when I wrote that, I believe John Caleb. Is he on the left-hand side there as the supervisor of District 14?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yes. Okay,
Okay.
I'll print you guys.
there's still,
All right. Okay,
so just.
then
leave
on
that.
to their center update. You bring us sheets?
Good. Anybody want them? That one. I did it that time. The last month was really slow, so it's kind of different this month. We only had 177 on the door count and our deposit was $10.
You need to start waving more people in.
Yeah, I don't know.
Get out there in the parking lot.
I think once the train opens, it'll get crazy. So, we had 4
Kind of a-
display cabinets come in from the museum. So 2 of them are long. And they can be locked. Fast, so that's great. We'll be able to put some of the stuff that's in storage in those display cabinets. And then we had 2 that will stay inside the building. They'll fit behind the desk. So that's been really helpful. Had a few items donated from the Boxcar Project. We're still looking for some of the items, which I have listed there, but if anybody has any of those that they'd like to donate, that would be great. I don't know much about this. This happened when I was not there. The train monitor. People can come in and see where the trains are right now. It's a live monitor, what's happening with the trains. Something happened to it. Lois called, Tyler Hayes, who is an individual that comes in and does maintenance on it sometimes. And he told her that there's gonna be some changes in the monitor setup, and he's not sure if we'll be able to have that anymore. So I'm not sure what's going on there, but we will find out some more information on it. Did have 1 bid come in on the painting the trim work, which was $3,900 $3,950. And if we want them to paint the beams under the fascia, that would be an additional $22.25. I don't know why she did it separately, but we do need both of them done. And also I know shingles are coming off the building. The wood trim around the top of the chimney are missing. And I just let city and county both know that, so they can plan ahead, I guess. We have not had any heat since last week. So I don't know what's going on. Last I heard, they were gonna get regular furnace person in there, but still we don't have any heat, so it's like 60 in there if we're lucky. So, then there's a little bear was donated. It was carved by Ed Jarvis, and Ryan Reynolds donated it to the visitor center.
A mining.
Yeah, it's a little carving of a bear, and he's
Can I borrow your
got a little lantern, mining lantern, and yeah. So I put him by the mining display.
Check it out.
Thank you.
Very cool. Thank you.
county, like didn't Brett talk about that that they would be willing to paint? Wasn't that discussion?
Yes, it's on his long-term calendar.
The stuff that hopefully get it to the summer.
Okay.
I was going to ask it, I don't know the ins and outs, but is it possible that like our summer interns can be doing that kind of stuff? Or even like,
Like,
I know
it's-
some of our jail people go and work at the cemetery, maybe they can be doing some projects like that.
I think you're talking Flambeau Correctional does the cemetery. I don't think it's not like our
Does
county jail.
Yeah. But we also need like the walkway painted going up into the train. That's all peeling and twisting. The wood is twisting. So, there's quite a few projects out there that could be
Did you
done.
ever hear back from Red Cedar Church? Because they had that week of service that they were doing, like 1 or 2 meetings ago.
I remember seeing that, but
They were going to finalize their projects in April.
I don't think I heard anything back. I don't know that I followed.
That
Set up.
Terry? Or was it Lois?
Might have been.
I thought
I remember hearing about it, but I don't think it was me that was.
maybe it was Lois. It was an email chain. It was printed out for us.
Last Lois, I don't know.
Might be something that we could, if the schools do their like Earth Day projects, maybe there's,
Well, and I thought of that
Community.
too. Lois and I were talking about, sometimes the schools have like a work day where they'll go do a project, like they've worked at OJ Foggy or something like that.
be coming up in like the next month.
Instead of feeding the geese.
Well, and I know Flambeau, Camp Flambeau guys did work on the train cars, and they did exceptionally good work, so. We could get them in to do some of their job, like the painting on the railing and stuff. Something they could do.
Yeah, if we are able to get that wants to donate some time, it would probably speed up the process over. Sure, there's a bunch of right of way spring projects for away. Anything else on the visitor center update?
That's all I have, I think.
Okay. Update on visitor center guides, brochure updates. We kind of talked about visitor center guides quite a bit. Economic development tourism report. Anything there? Marketing activities, plan, advertising. The only thing I would mention is at the conference they mentioned getting influencers out here. I think that maybe in the future would be worth a look at. Probably not today, but
Be a grant that we could write for once we have an economic development person.
thing on the Tony Rally Yard.
I have been working with the EDA and our Register of Deeds. And I don't know what went on in 2008, but the mortgage and agreement and the covenant, which is the sticking point on us being able to sell that land, is not findable. So I have finally, because I've been working with the EDA for over 3 months now, I think, I have been escalated to their legal counsel for assistance. So
Probably like 4 more escalations.
Yeah.
To get to the person that you need to talk to.
exactly, yeah. So Mary, our Register of Deeds, was super helpful. She looked at, I gave her the 2 parcels where we actually developed, and she's like, there's nothing attached to these parcels. So I was like, okay, would you mind searching all of the parcels we own over there? And she's like, yep, there is nothing attached to any of these parcels. So I updated the EDA on that, and he was like, wow, that's unique. So then he escalated me to this, his name is Ed or something like that, to their legal counsel. So hopefully I'll have an update next month. But that would explain why Andy's files didn't have signed and notarized copies, because it's possible that that didn't occur. And I'm really not sure. I don't want to say that for a fact, but that's unfortunately what we're running into, because if the Register of Deeds doesn't have them,
Even if there's a paper copy laying around, you'd think that.
They're not around.
would've-
Right.
If Mary doesn't have them,
yeah, and Connie has looked for them in the past too,
I
and
can't find them.
yeah, they're just,
So you just
and
don't.
the EDA doesn't have, our regional rep was like, yeah, there's, like, I gave him the project award number, and he was, there's just nothing here. So, an odd situation, but we'll
Great,
keep working on it.
appreciate that.
Mhm.
Social media. Photography website.
So you want me to take the?
Yes, if you would please.
Yes.
So we have the year-long contract with Fox 47 down in Madison. And I have been working with Christy. I developed 3 scripts. We are going to do, bird watching was one of them. We wanted fresh content for this year. Bird watching is one, I think hiking, and the other one I think is biking. So I initially tried combining them all into one, and she was like, yeah, this is way too much content. So we decided to break them down into 3 different categories. So I sent her scripts, I sent her photos. So that will be what's airing in April, May, and August, I think, because in June we run that's focused on like events in the summertime here in Rusk County. So those are the 3 topics. And then that brings us kind of closer to fall. We have been reusing some of them, and we're looking at maybe reusing our fishing one for later in the summer or July or something like that. But if you guys, as always, if you have any ideas, like the bird watching one, I thought was super unique. We have a whole section
Good.
of bird watching dedicated on our website. So
Yeah,
yeah.
great.
Mhm.
You can catch an angle that not everybody else is hitting it, kind of.
Right.
And it keeps that outdoorsy that is kind of what we got a lot to offer. Outdoors activities here.
Yep.
Like cross-country skiing or just skiing in general, like once we get closer to it, that might be something, especially with all the trails and
Mhm.
Blue Hills.
We do have a little bit of information at the visitor center on bird watching. So area.
And part of the plug in that ad I wrote was come get your binoculars at the
Oh, yeah, we did that.
visitor center, yeah.
Speaking of bird watching, I seen a robin this morning.
Oh,
Waiting for my cranes to come back. Visit me every single year. There's a pair of Sandhill cranes that come and hang out most of the year in my field and in my backyard, by my back door. I've caught them pecking at my door handle before. I thought somebody was like shaking my door. I actually got just a small video of them too. Like my handle was like moving. That's kind of cool. Great. When them videos come out, is there a way you can send us the clips?
sure, they're on our website too. All of the videos are on our website under the respective categories. So like we did a camping one. So if you go on the website and click on camping and don't give up. It takes a second for it to load. So it might look like it's not there, but then it pops up after sometimes 30 seconds.
So in April, we'll have the ones up there.
Or one of them, yes. Yep. I can try to remember when Christy sends the proof to me, just to forward it to you guys so you can see it.
If you remember, yeah.
That would be
Otherwise, I'll try to
good, yeah.
remember to look at the website too. All right. Grant opportunities, travel Wisconsin grant review.
And forgive me because I was sick at the last meeting. I don't know if I told you guys or not. We did get the TIC grant and it's already been entered into revenues back to 2024. So that was.
I think you either
That's
mentioned
for
that or
wages,
communicated
isn't
that.
it, for, yeah,
Right.
I,
That's for the tour center.
tourist
Yeah.
center.
for
wage,
wages.
Yeah,
Maybe you just mentioned applying for it. I can't remember. But for some reason, I thought that.
That I already, okay. Yeah, I forget.
that
The Northland Community Club did get a $7,100 GEM grant for year one to advertise for Mardi Gras. So we're gonna be on like the power boats and everything. We can start using that as of like May 1st. So
7,100.
yeah, 71 like 25, I think. But yeah, we had put in for like more radio and like TV ads, like outside of the area that hitting like Eau Claire and La Crosse areas too.
Anything else on the grant opportunities? I don't have anything on the IPEC report. Experimental events, arts, and culture activities.
Back to the IPEC thing. Something is going on with the request for information again. We're not doing on our. And I noticed in the junk file, we're getting some. Most of them though are spam. So what's going on, but there's been I just go to the junk file now and I go through them and I find any that look like legitimate requests. The other day I pulled like 30 of them off of there that were all spam, like from some other made up country. So I don't know.
I noticed, is it county email?
Yeah, I'm good.
I know that like my county email, ever since I did like the quarantine type of update for emails,
Right.
I get a lot, but I get a lot sent. So I think that's just like maybe an update to that program, because I know I go in and I've got emails like from even people that I have communicated with before. So that's just something that I've noticed in like the last like months or so.
Yeah, this has been just the last couple of years.
So
But I'm not getting any requests in the regular inbox. Everything's going to. So I don't know what's happening there. That's again, that list that we had to do the 407. However, that process works, it's not working.
I get things.
It sounds like requests that are forwarded to us.
Okay.
Once we have a full-time position, that'd be something that somebody in that position could definitely do a lot of the reaching out to make sure that we're on all the websites with the proper email addresses and stuff.
It's also where a lot of the visitor guides go out. That's where the requests come in for those visitor guides, so.
The other thing is, I think at the next committee meetings, there'd probably be an appointment, a new appointment for the tourism IPEC. So once we have somebody on there again, suggest talking to them and they might be able to ask at one of the meetings. Right? Experimental events, arts, culture activities. Anybody got anything on that?
I think it's pretty cool that the city passed the AI data tracking and how that'll be able to be utilized. So I think there'll be a lot of opportunities there to better focus our efforts.
That's actually something that some of the breakout sessions I mentioned, if you're able to track and use that data, you can really hone in on what's working or not for tourism and the county.
I know I referenced that the city was looking into that for the GEM grant and like how we were able, the measurable goals and how we were going to track whether or not it was a success bringing more people in. So I referenced like that we were going to utilize that. So that might be the reasons why like we were chosen to. It's something to consider for other grants.
Right, anything else? Arts, culture, historic city, tourism commission report.
I can address that. We did have a city tourism committee meeting on March 5th. And we had Bob Williams and his wife there. And of course, I hadn't heard about it, but they proposed their
Bulls, barrels and bands.
the Bulls event, which comes, July 26th before the counties. So I don't know. Fair probably aren't too happy about that, but they're going to take the area. Do you know where it's going to be? On 27 and Dowdy Road?
Yeah, I think it'll be discussed a little bit more at the next county board meeting. It might be at the fairgrounds as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So-
So it sounded like that's,
That's one of the options. I think there'll be,
I don't know.
my guess is we'll probably end up at the fairgrounds.
You think?
If not this year, for sure.
Yeah,
next
because
year,
I
but
thought
that's
it's,
kind of
yeah,
end of this year.
it's gonna be crazy to build that whole area up if that's what they were gonna do with.
Yeah, and there is a plan that if they were gonna use that they talked with Land
Okay.
Water and figured out a map to.
And I just wanted to update you. So this is room tax dollars. That's over $70,000 that the city took in. And the Bulls event asked for 7,500 and that was approved. And then we gave Mardi Gras people asked for 20,000 and that was approved. And so that left over $43,000. And normally what the city does then is gives the rest of that money to the chamber. But last year was 38,000. So instead of giving the whole 43,000 right away, someone else mentioned that maybe they should hold back $10,000 to see if anybody else would come up with an event, and put in for it. I sort of did something with Lois and Kathy Halbert, the county board, and thinking that we could expand the train tour things that we did for school kids last year, However, it got shot down kind of before I didn't realize, that money says, or one of the questions was, is the event likely to result in overnight stays in hotels, motels, campgrounds, and so on? And of course, that's just a day trip kind of a thing for kids. So we won't be getting any money. So I would imagine the chamber would get the whole, unless somebody else has a new event. That
Oh.
would be big enough to bring people in.
I'm kicked in for your cookie fund too, so now you got even more in there.
So Tom? You did?
Money to,
Gave some money to me to,
Oh, you did? Okay, I didn't
But-
realize that. Okay,
Last
great,
time.
because I thought you were.
yeah,
offering.
he added to that,
Oh, really?
yeah.
Okay, so that's good, because I think Lois, and she wasn't able to be here tonight, but I think she was going to expand it to the Ladysmith schools, maybe Bruce, Flambeau, so, because we started out with just smaller, schools before. So I'm sure she's gonna go talk to the schools and see what we can do there. So that would be great. Okay, I'll pass that on to her.
Okay.
So we didn't want to spend another hour, another meeting to see how we could get $60 for cookies. So, okay, that's all.
You sent it back to your colleagues and they just all wanted to help out. All right. Anything else on arts, culture, historic city tourism? If not, upcoming completed education opportunities. And Cheyenne had a time at
So you
the,
did not get a third person to go then, huh?
we did not.
No,
Luckily,
so we get the money back,
the hotel did reimburse us for the
hopefully.
hotel stay.
Good.
That's like, they have a 7-day cancellation policy. And I would recommend in like the future, when we book hotels, book them as close to the conference as possible. Cause we were told it was a 6-minute walk and it was a 10-minute drive.
10-minute drive.
We were like on Alaska, pretty much.
Oh my gosh, you guys.
Oh
Cause
my
I hung out with
gosh.
some friends in Unalaska the first night and I was like way closer to that.
That's why when I got that request from the hotel, I thought it was fraud because I was like, that is nowhere near the convention center.
Yeah, I liked where we stayed for Wisconsin
didn't
County
we-
Association where you just like walked across, you didn't even have to move your car or
Right.
anything.
And then like there's additional like paying for parking and things like that then, but
But yeah, that was
Yeah.
like $8 or something when we were there, $16
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah, my 16, I think was for 2 days or something like that. Or
So
Yeah.
did you each went to different workshops, I'm sure.
yeah, so a
right?
lot of the workshops we ended up at the same, but some of them,
like some of them were more like, so the ones that we went to were more, cause there were some that were like, it wasn't necessarily good fit for our
We
purposes.
need, yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
There was a lot more panel discussions this time of like what other communities are doing. Like there was some ideas that I'll probably like forward on to Courtney. Like one of the chambers, they do like a small business support group like once a month. And so it's just like for small businesses to come in and like, like sharing like the resources that Ashley had talked about, like that would be something that you could share in there, like and just how they incorporate more into their thing. But definitely like big hits on like social media was the big thing this year. And really bringing like story, not necessarily like more focusing on like how people feel, I would say would be a big thing.
outdoor tours was a
Oh,
big
Was a
sell.
big thing.
And I think we have the best outdoor
we
tourism in the whole state.
yeah, I think we have an excellent guide and we do a lot of that.
But if people don't know about it, then it's limited. So like being better to like, showcasing that, like that's where that position would be really helpful and like sharing, like making sure everything on the outdoor recreation map for the state is good.
And agritourism too was brought up. I
Agritourism.
always think of Maple Hill because they're my neighbors there.
Yeah, right, yeah. Oh, and we used to have a dairy promotion, right? But they've done it out at Colonial. When I was looking here, I thought, oh my gosh, we need more for Colonial Nursery. I know there was a little thing with for different kinds of beer or something sitting there with some flowers behind it, but they've got such a beautiful place, you know, and use it for weddings, don't they even, or receptions or whatever?
Beautiful at weddings.
Yeah, so for any event, it, you know, it should be put out there a little more.
The one thing that they were saying is, just to kind of keep in mind too, was that they're seeing more people are planning further in advance, that they're like booking hotels and stays 120 days or more in advance, where like before it was a lot more, I'm going next month. So people, because of budgets and things like that, so there's a lot of talk about like with economic like impacts and everything, like that, so making sure that our events are updated in advance, because people are starting to plan further out than they normally did, to make sure that they have the budgets that they want for their destinations.
So in other words, they're planning in January and February for their July.
Yeah.
So typically at the hotel, like I see Mother's Day weekend is like all of a sudden that's when we start, like we get to, they hang out with their moms and then they're starting to book a lot. And so, but just making sure like if we have content out, like, you know, if people are planning for what they're going to be doing in July here in like April, making sure that we have our stuff updated on our websites to reflect that, so then we can show. And kind of moving into a lot of like people want the stories, like what makes them unique. So a lot of places are moving to like, what does the historical, like what was here before and showing now. So there's a lot of talk on history.
Saying they are wanting, people are wanting the historical.
Like they want the
value
unique,
things.
they're looking for like the unique experiences or things to do. So there's a lot of talks too about like, do you have an itinerary that people could like, if I'm coming to Ladysmith and I only have a day, do you have an itinerary of things that I could do? But like a lot of encouraging people to share their content too. So like when they're traveling, sharing that.
Their story.
So
Steal somebody's story from me. You can say that every word's God or whatever, but when it comes to somebody's personal story, you can't steal that from them. So that those stories are great.
and like, are we as a community, do we have things out there like that are encouraging people like, now share your experience here? We really don't have that a whole lot.
Okay.
So we need to get better at making sure that, because then we can just share that like as their posts and everything, or, you know, contact them, but having that user generated content from people that are visiting here is super beneficial. I think some of our businesses do a really good job, but maybe just overall in the community, working on that.
We need to more people to, everybody in the county start hashtagging Russ County and
It
whatever.
was like, yeah, we need to do this. I'm like, we already have that. We're just- like, we have that too. Like, we just need to get better at
Need to
using
put-
it.
Sometimes, yeah, we
The
don't put
usage
it
of
out
that.
there, yeah. Like the fly-in.
That's right.
But then it was a cloudy day, right? So that.
Well, there's
kind
still,
of
there's still
fizzled.
breakfast there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that
Still
last year,
happy
my
people.
plane was the only plane on the
Was it
ramp.
Really?
But the year before, there was a
It
fair
was
amount of planes
busy
that-
the year
yeah,
before.
It
Yeah,
came in pretty steady in the morning. So
okay.
I just parked mine out there so people had something, but I knew nobody was gonna come.
Speaking of sharing stories, I forgot to mention, although I had it on the list, that Wisconsin Historical Society tour thing, they're focusing on stories of boxing in the area. So if anybody has anybody in their family that was into boxing, that's what they would like us to share with their display. I know that seems like there was some Gerbers that lived in Bruce area that were really into boxing. If we could get some people like that to contact, I
Reaching
know
out.
the Gerbers in Rice Lake were, but that's so are in Exlin, but that's Sawyer County, so.
I wonder if the Bruce, like historical group over there would have any kind of leads.
Lois is digging right, she'll find something, she always does.
You talked to your friend at the Ladysmith Historical Society, the one that brings in the books.
Lois talked to her too, and he has a woman coming in that's writing a book on something else, but might also have some information on, boxing, so she was gonna let us know about that.
Right. It's meeting date.
We go back to Monday. I can't remember. It must have been something.
Well, this Monday was because me and Cheyenne were at the.
Oh, yeah,
the
because you
tourism
guys were gone.
conference.
Yeah,
The second Monday, right?
right. The 14th of April would be the next one if that work.
Good with me if it's good with everybody else.
Is this room open then?
April 14th.
April 14th, 3 PM.
And would we be back at the visitor center?
No, we'll be back.
Here.
Yeah, because we're online teleconferencing.
Oh,
That way,
oh, I see. Okay.
yeah, we got it set up better and,
So you want to try to keep it here? Okay.
yeah, for now. If, yes, there's something that comes available that would make it,
Okay.
do that out at the,
Well, yeah, I'm sure you'll get it out there, but I'll mention it to Lois.
okay. All right. If nobody got anything else, then we are adjourned at 4:54.
Okay, and I'm headed to the Steam Center.